annual, oh, here it is. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first annual 30 Goals Conference. So we are so excited for you to be here. One of the reasons why we are here is because this year, the 30 Goals for Educators book came out, and what we decided this year was what I decided is there's so many incredible people. The book is about their stories and how they accomplished the goals. So today, me and Lisa Dabbs, who was a big part of it, and I'll share our story of how we met. And you probably know Lisa of NT Chat fame, and she's teaching with Teach with So on Twitter. And she also came out with her own book too, which we'll talk about too later. But we want to welcome you to the conference. This conference is about the people who accomplish goals, the people who have exemplified the goals, teachers like you in classes all over the world. In fact, there's one day where we have nobody from America presenting. We have 4 days. Every attendee will get a prize thanks to our awesome the awesome people who, companies and stuff that have donated. So we're super excited, and we're hoping you are ready to be inspired. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Lisa. She's going to tell you a little about herself, what's going on, while I get our presentation together to share.
Hey everyone, it's great to be here with you. And as Shelly said, I am Lisa Dabbs, and I'm so honored to be here with all of you. And I do want to say that as I start sharing while Shelly's getting booted up, that it's my privilege to be here with Shelly. You know, you'll learn a little bit more about me in a minute, but I met Shelly back in 2009 when she sent out a request on Twitter, and back then I wasn't blogging, she was actively blogging. I had just been a school administrator, and she was asking a question about school administrators. And so I said, well, I used to be a school administrator, and boom, that's how we connected. So the power of social media, friends that are with us today, is powerful. It's incredible what Shelly has been able to do in not only mentoring me, but mentoring hundreds of people all over the world. And I'm just so grateful to her and excited to be here with all of you today.
So let me go ahead and get our, you can see our presentation, hopefully. And we're going to do this quite quickly because all of the presentations are about 30 minutes. You're encouraged to go back and you can watch the YouTube videos. The URL on the program, you can download the program, bit.ly 30 Goals Program, all lowercase. You can get that. The URL that you go to will also be where everything is archived. You'll have access to the chat, and you'll have access to the videos as well. And all of that is free. So they're short, 20 minutes, and then you get question time as well. So we're going to start. When I came up with the 30 goals, just to let you know a little history for those of you who aren't familiar, this actually started in 2009. I had just began to blog, and I hadn't even been blogging for 8 months when I decided every year in January, I always go with a different goal program, or I try to improve the way that I achieve goals. I've been doing this since I was about 9 years old, so I'm well rehearsed in this. And what I decided to do, because that year was different, I was teaching in Germany, and I had met this entire world of teachers on Twitter. I joined, and when I joined, I decided, hey, they've inspired me with so much already. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see if I can crowdsource my goals. So I decided for 30 days, which was very crazy, it's not like that anymore, that I would try to achieve a very short goal. And it was really amazing because I had maybe 8 readers. And some of those were like my father. You'll see in my first blog post, like, if you ever see a comment by Daddy Hippo, that's my father. And so, And to do this, I didn't really expect much. I really just wanted to accomplish my goals. And that's the thing about being a goal-minded teacher, is a lot of times you may have an idea or you may have something that you're inspired by, and you tell the wrong person who happens to not be your champion, and who tells you, well, how are you going to do this? How are you? And they let you know all the obstacles. But see, my dad raised me very differently, to where he taught me not to go over the obstacles, to not even worry about them, because the worst thing that I believe I could ever do to myself is stop myself from doing things because I was too afraid to try. So when I tried the 30 goals, I thought, well, you know, if I just accomplish one goal, that's going to be way better than last year when I didn't accomplish a goal in my classroom. And these were geared to my classroom and my well-being as a teacher. Well, years later, over 10,000 teachers we're in 2015, and now we have our first conference, and we have incredible speakers from all over the world who were part of that journey. So really, this conference is about their voices, and hopefully they'll inspire you to step out of your comfort zone and to really go for what you're really passionate about. We need very passionate teachers. The reason why is because, according to teacherscount.org, the average teacher, or on average, teachers impact at least 3,000 students. So my question to you is, how many have you impacted? It may be a lot more. In my case, it is, because now we have technologies and you teach online and there's MOOCs. But it's about them. So it's important that we realize our mission and we begin to see how important it is to be a teacher, because and it's so hard to do this because policy doesn't support us, policy doesn't appreciate us. There's a lot of things in the system that don't appreciate teachers. And when I started 30 Goals, and when I continued all of these years, and I even went through depression and I had a lot of problems and things like that, but I continue to do it because of the teachers involved who really inspired me. And I can tell you that if you're inspired, then your students will be inspired too. It's difficult to really get your students to believe in dreams, to believe that they can make something out of their lives, that they can make a meaningful life, if you yourself don't believe that, because you're their example, you're their model. And I believe that every teacher, if you're teaching, that is your mission and that is your calling, because you wouldn't do this job unless you had a big heart and felt that you could make a difference. So I want you to believe in that, listen to the presentations, be inspired, get that before you go back in the classroom, that mission minded, that every single day that you're in the classroom, you want to accomplish a small goal, and that's what the 30 Goals is about. It's that you see that every student that you impact is going to impact so many more lives. The 30 Goals, this is what the goals are in the book. And thanks to Sylvia Duckworth, who's also a keynote presenter and who did a virtual workshop with us. At the conference, I should let you know that if you do sketch notes, you have additional, you'll be in a additional drawing, because we want to get all of our amazing presenters sketch noted. So please, it doesn't have to be gorgeous or anything like Sylvia's, but it can get you creative, and it's a great way to listen to a presentation. And you can even do the sketch note later. It's really about the people. I've been very fortunate throughout the years. We've done interviews. You see Lisa there. All of these people pretty much are presenting today. And you see how this is 2 years ago that we made a connection. And it's just amazing when you hear their journeys and their stories and what they've accomplished in their lives. And the same thing with being a goal-minded teacher. Lisa and I try to exemplify that. And when we started this journey, Lisa, the second year, I believe, or it was actually that year, and in the summer, I kind of got things better. It was a bit sloppy at the beginning. And so Lisa came in and she said, you know what, I really believe in your idea. I want to help mentor new teachers. She was a principal for over 12 years in California. And so she said, you know, I want to do this, the NT chat, and I really want the 30 goals to have that part of it too. And so Lisa and I have actually met in person since then as well. And she's spent time with my family. I just recently, in 2015, that picture, just a month ago, a couple months ago, I got to spend her birthday with her, which was really amazing. And the thing about Lisa and I is now that's what we get to do. We stepped out of our comfort zones, and I'm not saying you'll get all of these accolades or anything like that, but the thing about it is when you're goal-minded and you live by that, you really walk in it every day. And that's what the 30 goals is, every single day to try and accomplish something, even if it's high-fiving a student, even if it's calling a parent and just saying, hey, I really like teaching your kid today, or anything, just small things you can do really quick. Often you can do really quick things getting you out of your comfort zone, because when Lisa and I did that, when we reached out to each other, and we've accomplished pretty much all of these goals, now we get to live in our passion. We get to inspire thousands of teachers around the world. And I often say, and I think Lisa will say that as well, that this is the best job ever. We get to create things. I'm one of the founders of EdChat. She's the founder of NT Chat, and our movements, you know, have now come as books as well. So there are challenges, and Lisa's going to share her story and talk about that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and give this part over to Lisa.
Hey everybody, give us a second while we switch slides. Shelley, do you want me to share my screen and then push and move my slides accordingly?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that would be good.
Okay, great. Okay, and be sure to let me know. You know, it's really funny, friends. Again, it's so great to be here with you. But I did a webinar back in September, and I thought everybody could see my slides, and nobody could see them. And I was like, oh no. So it was sad. But I know Shelley's here with me, so we'll make sure that you can see my slides. So.
Yeah, we totally get it. And if Craig Yan is inside the chat wing, which I think he is, Jake's monitoring that for us,
Great.
Then he understands, because I did an Ignite and nobody saw my Ignite slides move.
I remember. Okay, so let me make sure. Can you see? Everybody see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my friends, I'm going to pick up from where Shelley left off and saying again that it's just such an honor and privilege to be here with all of you. My name is Lisa Dabbs. I am, as Shelley said, a former principal. I'm going to tell you that a little bit about that in a minute, but I really want to start by sharing this important piece with you. I met Shelley on Twitter in October of 2009, and I did so by responding to one of her blog posts. Now, at that point, I had been on Twitter since January of 2009, and my son, who lives in Florida, you'll see him a little bit later, we had jumped on together at this new thing called Twitter. And at some point, I think around March, he's like, oh, Mom, this is ridiculous. I'm jumping off. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to keep my account, but, you know, I'm probably going to go dormant as well. And I did. I was working as a consultant at the time. But then, and I'll tell you my story in a bit, you know, I jumped back in October of 2009, and I met Shelley by seeking out educators on Twitter. At that time, there weren't as many of us on Twitter as there are now. There were mostly actors and, you know, business people and whatnot. But I met Shelley. I responded to one of her blog posts, and this is how our relationship began. And she truly was my first social media mentor. And I will tell you, friends, that she has been the social media mentor for many, many of us around the world. But she still is my mentor. I always give her credit for everything that I've learned how to do and know how to do. And it's been an incredible journey. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. You can see that's me in the left-hand corner, maybe right-hand corner, your view, with my grandpa. And I have a camera around my neck. And even back then, when I was 10 years old, I knew that I loved to interact visually. And so I love to take photographs. And, I went to high school as many people did. And here's a picture from my high school yearbook. And I was very outgoing in high school. I loved meeting people, sharing with people, speaking. I was the secretary of the class for 2 years in a row, junior and senior. At that time, my friends, young women were not selected to be president of their class. So I was fortunate to be the secretary for 2 years. But I knew that I wanted to do something more. I knew that I wanted to be a servant leader. And so through my career as a preschool teacher, then an elementary school teacher, I became here, as you see me in my little yellow jacket, an elementary school principal. And I wanted to be the first principal in our family. And indeed, I did become that because my father was a principal, my uncle was a principal. My grandma, who I dedicate much of my work to, was a language teacher. She actually went to UCLA at a time in the early 1900s when most women were not doing so. They were at home taking care of families. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. That was wonderful. But my grandma was a brilliant woman. And she had a desire to move beyond the traditional role of a woman. And so she inspired me to go again from preschool teacher to elementary school teacher to become a principal. And I did that work, here you'll see me again with one of my students, for 14 years. Now, 5 years prior to becoming a principal, I was also a director of a federal project. It was a language and literacy project. And it was something that was very near and dear to my heart because I've always been very strong advocate for preschool teacher, the learnings of Piaget and Vygotsky, and the way that the mind works and the way that the child develops. But I spent those 5 years kind of developing myself as an administrator and then leaped into, 5 years later, the role of principal. So I did that for 14 years. I really enjoyed it. But there came a time here in the state of California and across the country, 2008, when the bottom dropped out of our finances and in this country. And as a result, I had come to a district very excited and very eager in 2007. New principal there, but the most tenured principal actually in the district. And then the district had to close some schools. And unfortunately, my school was closed. And so here I am in my 14th year of being a principal, and now I am laid off. And as a result, I'll share in a minute, I had to really dig deep and figure out what I was going to do next. And here in these images, you're going to see some of the things that I did do next, but I want to talk a little bit more in detail about that. So I had been laid off. I was despondent. I was depressed because, friends, my work was my life. I ate, lived, and breathed the principalship. I loved being a principal. I loved being on the campus and being with my children and my students and my teachers and my parents. And I might not look very despondent here, but that was really a forced smile. I had to really force myself to find joy again beyond my principal hat, beyond the role of a principal, because that was really what I had wanted to do for many, many years. It was my dream. I had achieved it. And I had a bigger dream. I wanted to become a superintendent of schools. And my children, here they are much younger than they are now, were concerned. They were concerned to see their mom, not the happy and bubbly person that she always was. They were concerned that I seemed a little different. And I didn't know, how was I going to be able to find my new niche? How was I going to be able to move forward from all those years of time spent as a principal dedicated to service at our public schools? And I really had to think about that, friends. So I want to stop here for a minute and ask you, have you ever been in that position? I know Shelley shared just a few minutes ago that she had gone through a time where she felt very down, very depressed, but she kept going. And that's not always possible. But I know that you can do it. And I know that as Shelley did, I did it too. And when I began to connect to Shelley, she was really the one that encouraged me back in the late 2009 time to blog. I told her about my story. I told her about how I had lost my job as a principal. And she said, well, Lisa, why don't you blog? And I said, who's going to care about what I have to say? I'm just a former school principal. And she said, are you kidding me? Everybody is going to want to know about what you have to share. Everybody's going to want to know about your story. Everybody's going to know about what you did in your schools, with your students, with your teachers. And she was really the impetus for me starting my brand, my blog, which is Teaching with Soul. And I have since learned from her and our wonderful mentor also of blogging, Sue Waters in Australia, who you're going to hear from later on in this conference, that to make sure that you grab your URL with your name. And so I started out as Teaching with Soul, and then I moved to lisadabs.com. But Shelley was really the one that said, Lisa, you have so much to share. You need to start blogging. And you have to know that, friends, back in the time when I was a principal, we really didn't stress the idea of principals blogging, students blogging, teachers blogging. So the idea of writing again seems so overwhelming to me. But I knew that if I could get some support from somebody like Shelley, get some support from a mentor, because I feel very strongly about mentoring, get some support from somebody who would inspire me, that I knew that I could do it. I knew that I could begin to write again. Over the last 19 years, I hadn't done much writing, signing papers, writing reports, writing evaluations of teachers and whatnot, but really not the deep kind of writing, or even the blogging style of writing that's very casual but meaningful that we do as bloggers. So I just need to let you know that she really inspired me to begin to blog. And at my site, teachingwithsoul.com, it's really all about, for me, oh, and my letters got a little messed up, so forgive me, inspiring, mentoring, and equipping teachers to teach with soul. So meeting Shelley, seeing what she was doing online, seeing what she was doing with Twitter, I began to jump into EdChat. And after being in EdChat for several months, I remember that I just boldly said, hey, Shelley, is there a chat for new teachers? And she's like, oh my gosh, no, there isn't. So I spent 4 hours with her one day in early 2010, hammering out all the details, all the questions that I had about beginning a chat that was germane and specific for new teachers. And she spent this time with me while she was still living in Germany to hammer out all the details, to help me to develop a new teacher chat. And as a result of being inspired by her, being inspired by her work, being inspired by her mentorship, I felt confident to launch New Teacher Chat in May of 2010. I will tell you, when I first launched it, there weren't that many people coming to the chat. I launched the hashtag. I am the founder of that as well. And there were maybe 10 or 15 people every Wednesday. But since that time, my friends, it has grown. Now my hashtag is used internationally. Now my hashtag is used by huge companies to reach out, by companies such as ASCD and Edutopia and Remind and Pearson and others, the Teaching Channel, all kinds of companies that want to make sure that they connect to who? They want to connect to new teachers. And they know across the globe that NT Chat is a place where people who care about new teachers, pre-service teachers, professors of those teachers, and others will come to connect on that hashtag. So it's been an incredible journey for me, and one that continues now in its 5th year. Now, as Shelley shared, back in 2011, she reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in joining me in this challenge? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not even that good of a blogger yet, but okay, I'm going to go ahead and join you. And so I joined her that year, and it was quite incredible for me. And really one of the things that I want to share that I derived from that was that, and something that she really taught me, because I was still thinking about, what am I going to do? How am I going to develop myself out of this principal pieces? I had to seek my passion. I had to decide, what is it that I'm really passionate about? I'm not really sure. I love literacy. I love mathematics. I love early childhood. But where is the piece that I really feel where I can be the most valuable? And so through that time that I spent working with her on the 30 goals, it really helped me to begin to discover what my passion was and how I was going to take that forward. And indeed, to this day, I can tell you that I know now. My passion is to inspire and mentor new teachers and to change the world with the way that new and pre-service teachers are taught around the world. And that is my passion, that is my brand, and that is the work that I do now. Now, being with the 30 Goals Challenge also inspired me to connect to other powerful movements. So I connected to a great movement that started in Boston called EdCamp. And I didn't really know too much about what EdCamp was about, but I knew that I wanted to be a part of something that was much bigger than me. So back in 2011, I jumped on board and joined the first group of Ed Campers in California. And back then we were branded as Ed Camp OC because for those of you around the world, if you know the OC from an old film, an old TV show called Life of the OC is Orange County. And so I live kind of close to Orange County. And so I said, you know, I'm going to get on board with being a part of the first organizing team for the Ed Camp in California. And so I did so. Since that time, OC has broken up from LA has broken up from OC, and now we have all kinds of Ed Camps in California. And now I'm part of the organizing team of Ed Camp LA for Los Angeles, and also most recently part of the organizing team for Ed Camp Leader. So being involved in one movement, friends, like the 30 Goals Challenge, can just jumpstart you to join other movements. And for me, it was joining the movement that is Ed Camp. So as I seek my goals to seek my passion, my boys, this is Aaron, this is Jason, and my husband, Randy. My son, Jason, there in the middle said, Mom, I'm so proud of you. You have reinvented yourself. And indeed, I have. I have reinvented myself from school principal. That was a great adventure, but really, friends, very limiting because I was only in the building. To, as Shelley said, somebody who is a consultant, a speaker, a blogger, an author, a mentor, who is connecting with the world, who is connecting globally. And because of the journey that I have been on with Shelley really by my side, most of the time, just via Twitter or Voxer, which I hope somebody will talk about at 30 Goals Challenge because it's such a powerful tool, to be able to do the kinds of things I'm doing now. And because of her mentorship, and because of her leadership, because of my seeking my passion through the 30 Goals, I was able to develop a book around the new teacher chat. The 5 years of the chat are now in evidence in my book, Standing in the Gap, Empowering New Teachers Through Connected Resources. Because for me, my work is my worship. My work is where I'm a leader. I believe very strongly in the idea of servant leadership. And so I'm very excited that having connected to Shelley back in 2009 has led to this beautiful journey, just really beginning, I believe, and I know there's so much more to come. So I'm very grateful to Shelley for having invited me to be a part of this great time together on this kickoff, second day of kickoff for the 30 Goals Challenge. And I thank you so much, friends, for being with me and Shelley today.
And I'm going to put my video back on. And then we're going to also share, actually, I'm going to share again some details about the conference. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being part of this. I do want to say one part of the 30 Goals Challenge that I found really good really inspiring doing it this way, asking others to join, asking to share their story. And I think that's one thing about achieving and accomplishing goals is that you need a support network. You notice how Lisa and I were very close since this journey, and we've met, each other's families. But that's the way it is with many of the teachers on the 30 Goals, is that they come in, some of us have never met each other. Some of us don't have big followings or anything. We maybe just started a blog or anything. All kinds of different teachers come to the 30 Goals, and then they suddenly connect with somebody else and their projects. And after this event, we're going to give you, we're going to have a passion pitch event where you can pitch your ideas and you can connect with other teachers, because really that's what it's about. It's about connecting, and it's about having that support network, because that's at least for me, that's the most, this is the most powerful way that I've been able to achieve goals myself. And I'm going to put it back on Lisa really quick, because I have to go change mine to a screen share. Lisa, I think, are you on mute?
Yeah, I just unmuted. If you haven't done the 30 Goals Challenge, I really would encourage you to do that. And you have so many people who are a part of this network during this time of the conference who are willing and able to do it. And for example, Shelley also inspired me to start a mentoring project. And it started at the EDU PLN, but then I moved it to my blog post. And there's over 150 educators from around the world who are willing to mentor. And so seek out some mentors, seek out people that can support you, seek out those that have done the 30 goals that can then help you to possibly do them. And by all means, buy Shelly's book and be able to dig deeper into exactly what the 30 goals is all about.
And talking about the book, every time that you attend a session, we are going to give you the form. It's going to be the same link. We're not going to say it here because it's for you who attend. Every single person who who attends will walk away with something, but you also have the chance to walk away with more things. For example, a free copy of the 30 Goals book. So we're going to be giving out a few of those, and Lisa's book, which hasn't even come out yet. So by just attending the session today, and big shout out to Peggy George and Craig Yan and Jake Duncan, who I just saw monitoring the chat with over 80 people. So we're really excited, and we're so glad that you came. All of our speakers, you will get something for attending theirs, but also if you sketch note, you'll be getting more things as well. And some of that is their books. So when, for example, like Tyson Seaburn, he's going to be giving away a couple of copies of his book. And so we're just really appreciative of all the people involved with this project as well. You also get certificates and badges, but the only way we can give you certificates and badges, or that you can get any of this, then is if you've signed the attendance form. We do this year with the conference, I've ran other previous conferences before, but this year I really integrated a lot of Google. So it makes life easier. It gets me a little bit more sleep than I usually get, which is not much, and really helps to keep these kind of things going. So thank you so much. We are going to give you a 30-minute break to kind of recoup, get dinner, anything like that. And next, we really encourage you to go and see. We have a 13-year-old keynote speaker, truly amazing. At 5 years old, he started his passion and his idea, and he's going to talk to you about 8 years later being 13. So Lisa and I are talking to you as adults, but the 30 Goals Challenge isn't only for adults. In the first year, we had Riley, who was 10 years old, and he spoke and did a video for the 30 Goals. So it's for teachers, educators, leaders, and it's also for students as well. So we will see you throughout the conference. Thank you so much for choosing to be a teacher. It's your mission. Find some inspiration. Go back in the classroom and make sure that every single one of those 3,000, if they're not going to transform the world in a good way, at least that you encourage them and let them know, hey, I do believe you can do this. You can achieve a meaningful life. And I believe in you. So thank you so much, and we will see you throughout the conference. Do you want to say bye to everyone?
Bye, everyone, because I think we're still live. So
yeah, we are. I couldn't stop it yet.